dear friend of Domingo Live. He is a young man who has an incredible amount of talent, and even going back to Barbie and Dan when you guys were on the radio, his music was played, and it was played quite often.
Yes, one of my memories, favorite ones of this following artist is when we first met. We had him on one of our festivals because we had him for many. He was all about his family.
Yep.
And right away, you know, we met, you know, his wife and his kids, and it says a lot when anybody, you know, is all about their family, especially
Absolutely.
an artist that travels a lot, you know. It's hard
Yep.
to be a family man. So that was very respectful.
And you know what? Speaking of traveling and being on the road, we have Sonny Sauceda with us on Domingo Live. Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on Domingo Live, man. It's been great to
Thank you for, of course, thank you for having me on your show. It's great to be here. Good morning.
Well, it's always been great to have you on the show. It's always been good to see you perform. We had one of your old videos that aired when you were on, I guess, back in 2017. And of course, we started up with a lot of energy.
That's right. It got our blood pumping this morning. Thank you.
It's one of the things that we've always enjoyed about you is that you come in here and you get us going. You bring in a certain energy level that's rarely seen from a lot of the other artists that are out there. But how has everything been going for you? I understand you've been very busy.
Your question cut out. Can you say that one more time?
I understand that you've been very, very busy.
A little bit, yes. We've been pretty slammed. Thank God. We were actually out on the road. We were at the Tejano Roots Hall of Fame event last night, inducting many of the members of Y Todo Eso, and even former members got inducted last night. So it was a big family reunion last night.
Congratulations on that. And speaking of family, how is your family?
Great. Everybody's great. They're probably barely rolling out of bed. That's why I'm in the van, because they were sleeping. We stayed up pretty late last night cutting it up, so it was fun. We had a great time. But they're great. Thank you for asking.
You said you were talking to another incredibly talented accordionist, Herbie Lopez, who, unless you know la trayectoria de nuestra música, the history, Herbie Lopez was an incredible gentleman who contributed during the early days of Tejano, who also played with Conjunto Bernal, currently playing with La 45, and with many other bands. You guys talked about the history. You want to share some of that with us?
Absolutely. We were just sharing, he was sharing with me, the chronological order of Bernal, right? The influence Bernal had. And so, if for those of you that don't know my work ethic, I always refer to Conjunto Bernal, because my dad and my mentors would tell me, man, Bernal used to sit there and work on one song for 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever it took, but it was one song. And a lot of these newer musicians, the younger, generation, they just learn it at home and get together for, an hour and then, okay, see you later. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. So that's one of the things. It's usually I use them as a reference because their music was so great, but you got to put the work in. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's about gelling together. So that's one of the things we're talking about, because I'm a musical producer, and Herbie is he was a band director, and we just have that. We use every moment as a teaching moment. So I had Herbie there, and some of my guys were there, and I had them kind of tell me what they were doing. But there's always a method to my madness. So that's what we're talking about, of course, and their history. But again, you put in the time, and their music is so great. I mean, it is timeless.
And I'm glad that you brought up your father, Sonny, because he was the one that introduced you to Tejano music. He was an accordion player himself. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, my dad, he would always tell me these stories, and that's why yesterday was so overwhelming to me. And I shared a TikTok about my first visit to the Tejano Roots Hall of Fame. And now it's one thing to listen on the radio, to watch the videos, and to look them up and Google them or whatever, or chat GPT them, whatever you want to do. But to be in a room with, all your predecessors, and you see their photos and some of the memorabilia, and all my dad's stories were, kind of just coming up in my head. I could hear him telling me all these stories because I didn't get to live them. But, my dad was such an influence on me, and I, admired him, and he was just my dad never really pushed me to play music. I just wanted to do it on my own. And I think I was harder on myself than my own dad was. But he didn't have to be hard. I just love music that much. But all he did was lead by example, and never an angry person, always just, you're gay, but that's fine. And but he was such a positive reinforcement in my life. And I think that's what's instilled in me. The always seeing the silver lining in any situation. And I've always kind of been that, you know, the guy that's always happy about something. If I got delayed, I got a flat tire, whatever. There's always a reason for it, and who we are to question, you know, um, God's will. So that's just what my dad instilled in me such an early age. And on top of that, of course, the business side of the music business, that is just, he paid me $5 every night to teach me that you are now a professional musician. So technically, I've been playing professionally since I was 5 years old. So that's a total of 40 years now.
Amen, right?
Love
Isn't that
that.
amazing to have
Yes.
that kind of principle, that kind of drive, and the example
That's right.
set by the Father? You know, Sonny, this song that we're going to be watching in just a few minutes, todo mundo, un cuarto de millón de personas que nos están viendo ahorita a través del mundo, because we're streaming live everywhere, as well as over the air here on KTRL TV3, is very special to you. It's titled Niño. Tell us about that.
For those of you that don't know, we've been pretty public about it. My oldest son, he's 13 now, Jaron, was diagnosed at a very young age with infantile spasms. And he spent a lot of time in the hospital with doctors, and eventually had to have brain surgery. And I tell you, that was one of the hardest times of our lives. It was very challenging. I mean, and I wasn't the one going through it, but it was still hard to watch that, right? And it's when you send your son in to get his head cut open, there's nothing like it. I mean, I lost my dad about 8 years ago now, but that kind of pain is, it never, it just, it's so overwhelming. And it's not easy. But I started writing a song for him when he was in the hospital. He would cry, and he couldn't talk yet, and he still doesn't talk much right now. But I didn't know why. And I would just tell him, "Don't worry, it's going to be okay." And I spent a lot of time with him. At the time, I was able to be really flexible. I was able to spend a lot of time with him during those, years and months and weeks and days. And so I started writing that song for him. And I actually started working on this song right before Dios Familia y Música album came out. Dios Familia y Música is one of my inspirations from that whole experience with my son. But I also started writing Nino at the same time. I just didn't get to finish it. So when I was writing it, working on it, I would tell my producer, "Man, this is happening." And I said, I wouldn't, the questions that everybody asks, why me? Why me? And he said, "Well, why not you? You are
Very
going to be a
good.
testimony to
Yes.
people. You're going to, share your story, and people will know that they're not alone in this." So I think this song it had first had to be a beautiful song. Friends of mine from Argentina helped me finish it out, and we came back to Texas and finished it with Gilbert Velasquez. But this song is not only applicable to anybody with children, but this is, and it is Sunday, right? And it's very fitting for today. We are all children of God. So this is not just from me to my son. It can be from the man himself to us. So it's a very special song, and it was the hardest song I've ever had to sing, and I don't even know how I'm gonna do this live. Somebody recently told me that Eric Clapton, "Tears in Heaven" is about his son, and that he never got to play it live because he could never get through it. So I don't know if that's gonna be my situation, but I know I hear it, and I am just torn up. It's just like reliving it all over again.
Well, Sonny, we want to thank you so much for sharing your true life story. Many musicians, if not all, that's what they do through their music, is share their stories. But to share something like this so personal, it really means a lot. And as parents, listening to this song, extremely powerful. I know that our viewers are going to feel the same.
So here we go. This is Sonny Salceda with Niño on Domingo Live.
Niño, ya no llores, niño, no estés triste, no tengas miedo que aquí estoy, que aquí estoy, que aquí estoy. Niño, no te asustes, niño, ven conmigo, en mis brazos te tengo, que aquí estoy, que aquí estoy, que aquí estoy. Aquí estarán mis brazos, cuando tengas frío yo te abrazaré. Aquí estarán mis manos, cuando necesitas toma yo te las daré. Niño, ya no llores, niño, no estés triste, no tengas miedo, que aquí estoy. Niño, no te asustes, niño, ven conmigo, en mis brazos te tengo, que aquí estoy. Aquí estarán mis brazos, cuando tengas frío yo te abrazaré. Aquí estarán mis manos, cuando necesitas toma yo te las daré. Yo te las daré. Aquí estaré, por siempre aquí estaré, yo nunca te dejaré, no, no. Aquí estaré, yo siempre te amaré, a tu lado estaré, no, no. Tienes un corazón muy grande, niño mío, hasta en el cielo yo te amaré. Aquí estaré, por siempre estaré, yo nunca te dejaré, no. Aquí estaré, yo siempre te amaré, a tu lado estaré, no, a tu lado estaré. Siempre a tu lado, hijo mío, siempre a tu lado. Te amo, hijo mío. Llegan Alejandro.
A beautiful
Sunny.
song.
What a
Sunny.
beautiful message,
Oh, my
period.
God.
I know we're with knots in our throats and tears in our eyes.
Thank you for sharing God's gift of your talent with the rest of the world.
Oh, I think it's an honor and a privilege.
And you have a beautiful family, Sunny. Please tell them hello from us.
I sure will.
We
Thank
appreciate
you so much, guys.
We appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time
Sunny.
with us hoy por la mañana. Now, go be with your family and have a great day, and know that people here that just watch this video, you touch their hearts, because I know you touched ours.
For sure.
Very, very much so. So te agradecemos. Okay, brother?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Love you, man. Be safe.
Love you guys. Thank you.
We'll be right back with more Domingo Live after this. Stick around.